What's up, brothers and sisters? Can all hear Bulls on Wall Street? Woof! A heater in the markets. We have made back half of the pullback that happened here. I mean, and it came fast on a gap and then just a grind up all day. It was a straight up melt up. Not really much else to say about it. So let's dig into the indexes and just the watch list. I mean, first of all, the QQQ melt up. I mean, there's no point even watching the SPY anymore, right? Like, it's like they're just moving together, but the QQQs is moving more, you know, and everything is tech these days for the most part. And that rotation doesn't seem to ever change. So what are you going to do, right? But you can see here, even the IWM was up a little bit. NVIDIA led the way. 6% move. That's a lot for a $5 trillion company, by the way. Incredible hammer candle on the 50 SMA. Remounted all its MAs. I mean, right? 210's probably in the sights here in the next handful of days. I'm not saying I don't know if surprise is the right word, but the velocity, right, and intensity today, I thought was incredible. You know, you had a gap and grind day on NVIDIA. Palantir was, you know, also right. We're like 9%. I mean, guys, these are, you know, huge companies, big floats, and they took off out of the gate, right? And you know, you should never be too surprised, but like this thing was at 168. So if you think about this, like 195, like that's, dude, I had so many 175 calls expiring this week. Like scalped out of them by the end of the day on Friday. I'm really feeling stupid about some of those things, but incredible, right? So what are you going to do? Like, you can't ignore price action like that. You know, this stuff is up 10% today. NVIDIA's up 6%. Like, it was, you know, across the board, like just some really good stuff happening. So let's dig into the watch list. I don't know if we really need to do too much analysis on the indexes. Google, you know, this is probably out of the big caps, the top of the list. It's the cleanest. You got a, you know, old school high tight flag. Probably go with the 295 calls, right? Like if it sets up tomorrow, but it's right there. I mean, that one's for the taking. I got Baidu here. The swing entry was really on Friday, but I think we can, you know, we got a spot here that we can get this thing to, you know, at least back up here. It looks pretty good. Guys, EOC is a daily trader at this moment. 42 million shares in volume today, but the price action on it's really a tell. It dumped off a hot second at the open and then just ramped up $2, right? 250. Same thing the previous day, right? Dumped off a couple points and then just the jets are on. So anytime there's weakness, the buyers are stepping in. People want a piece of this company. I don't know. I looked over the earnings very briefly. It's a good thing that, you know, I don't get paid for reading stuff and making opinions because they didn't look like much to me. I mean, their earnings kind of look like, you know, I got friends that have that kind of earnings, right? Like, it's like, you know, it didn't really seem like much, but that's not what I'm paid for. So thank gosh, right? It looks great. Watch on all dips. Hey, you took out its earnings high here after a couple-day pullback. I think this one's got 46 in the cards, and then we have the much longer-term Butamus Maximus breakout setting up here. I mean, holy crap, it looks fantastic. Got good liquidity. Everything's got good liquidity. You shouldn't just even stop looking at volume sometimes because everything's doing 50, 60 million shares a day. It's like, what's the point, right? RIVN. So this is RIVN on the daily chart. It looks fantastic, up 6%, coming up, also breaking its earnings high. If you look at a weekly chart, looking even better. I mean, oh, man. If this thing clears out like 17, I mean, you're going straight to 20 and then probably 25. Look, this company is obviously a big gelatinous piece of excrement, but, you know, we're in the market, man. The fatter she is, the more fun it is, right? Like, let's do it. Lyft also, this the swing trade entry is, you know, right off at the morning today, but I think you can keep day trading this one. Good range today, 7%. You know, EMPH, hey, look, with that EOC move, like, why not this one, right? Like, it's got 13 million shares in volume. Like, if it breaks this trend line and maybe takes out this 1465, that puts you into 16. That's a good spot. I'm stalking this SND. This is one of the longest, like, times I've seen a stock run up to 9 EMAs on a large cap name without, like, at least some wicks under and stuff. Obviously, somebody's just buying the crap out of this thing, but it was pretty orderly all this time, so it's just overbought, so not really anything to short. Now it's starting to speed up, so, like, now it's more of an interest, right? If it like opens weak tomorrow or something, like not really an interest. Like I want to see like a blowout, right? So I want to see multiple gaps, right? Let's get that thing to 300 or something. I want to see it, at least 3 days of ATR. 3 days of ATR from its 9 EMA. So currently we're about 50 points. So 2 days worth of ATR. So I need another day. And then I think we'll be into something. You got yourself CSIQ. This is another one I'm watching for potential short. I actually really like the solars right now. But this one's getting a little bit long in the 2-2. Once again, it's not a short yet. It needs a blowout. Like today, it gapped up. I need to see kind of multiple days of gap up. So I want to see 3 days worth of minimum 3 days worth of ATR from the 9 EMA. So, that means it's got to be closer up here with the gaps, right? And I want to see that speed up. SEDG, this was one that we were stalking all day in the day trading chat room today. And you know what? The volume was like just a couple 100,000 in the morning. And I was like looking at it. I'm like, it's got to spread. I'm not going to be able to get the size I want. If I mark, like you get in your own freaking head, right? Like, does she love me not? My thing is like, man, if I market order 3,000 shares of this, I'm going to be down $600, like right off the get-go. And it was too thin to get filled on the limits. I'm like sitting there playing peekaboo, prairie dogging, like, let me put it in between the bid and ask, no fill. Let me put it on the bid, no fill, and you're just playing this. I hate that shit, right? Let me just grip it and rip it. Tin cup style. Like, come on, all right? Let me whip out that 7-iron and just go to town. Let's see how this one opens. If it opens weak, maybe we get something out of it. It looks the best. I mean, like, like stuff like ENPH or run, like, not really anything, right? But old SEDG and, what was the other one? Like NXT or something, right? Or is it NXT? Yeah, that's another solar one. But this one, the caboose already left the building on this one. So, SEDG is it for us. So let's see if this one pulls back a little bit tomorrow. We get a week open. We can red to green that. Open. Big remount today. 225 million shares in volume. Dude, got dusted under, the Bollinger Band. Totally breaking out. 26%. Nice little trender on it. All day. Dude. We got to try this tomorrow, right? Like, let's add that one to the watch list. SKYT, this was an interesting one, like, because it's wasn't something I was that familiar with. But, if you look at the action on this thing, it was like, I love when these kind of things just get out of the gate, pull back, and right, like it's clean. I want to see my stocks do that kind of stuff. I'm going to put it on the watch list. I want to see it react to the things that I like to trade. And it's doing that. And look, you can have an endless amount of, stocks, but these kind of auto companies, there's other ones besides RIVN, but, I thought this was probably going to be the cleanest. 105 million shares of volume, semi-okay ATR, but I think, the rest of them will peak up at some point. Like Lucid is done, but let's see if RIVN goes. Maybe Tesla finally breaks out now that it tested the 50 in that lower Bollinger Band. Who knows? This is one of those ones that everybody's watching it, so it may have had to kind of flush everybody out, and now it's going to do its thing. And one day it'll break, and it'll just probably come it'll probably just come right out of a gap, and we'll have to chase it and do whatever. But that's the list I'm sticking to. There's a lot of other stocks that I think look okay. I wouldn't mind at some point a little bit of a small dip on like Meta and try to do a little bit of a W bottom bounce. It's very rare that these kind of names haven't started to marinate once they kind of fill some of these levels up. But that's a lot tougher setup, so just be mindful. Stick with the trends. I know there's some other kind of specky names that we're going today, but I feel like these are some charts in no man's land. You know, this kind of stuff is all in no man's land. Under MAs, I don't like that, right? I like them to be a little bit more clear. So that's the list. I'm sticking to it. I love you guys. Peace in the Middle East.